edition of the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary. There's a picture here. This Merriam-Webster Dictionary is the biggest dictionary in English. It's the biggest one. And it's very famous. It's very famous. I have a picture here. You can check it online. You can use this dictionary online. It's very good. Considers literature to be writings. What are writings?
Writings.
Writings. This writing is a verb or a noun. This is a verb or a noun.
Right. So you mean I have to answer
The question. Is this a verb or a noun?
no?
It's a noun.
No.
Writings, just things that are written, right? Having excellence. What is excellence?
Very good.
Very good. Yes. Of form or expression. What is form related to?
Form means the type or
Yes. Like when you write a letter, you usually have like dear blah 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 blah, comma, something here. And you sign here. This is form. Okay. When you write a book, what do you have in a book? You have a title. What else do you have?
and
Introduction
yes.
or the preface. And then you have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You have a structure, right? You have a form. And expression, okay? Or expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest. What is this permanent?
I don't know.
That never changes. That never changes.
Never change. So it's always
The same.
this.
Yes. It's permanent. Or universal interest. What is universal?
Universal. Maybe.
It comes from universe. Do you know what is the universe?
Yes.
Okay, so it comes from the universe. What is universal?
And the objective of universe.
And what does it mean? The adjective of universe.
Universal.
It means
Very crowded.
everybody. Everybody likes it. Everybody is interested in this. Everybody. It means everybody. In Taiwan, in the United States, in England, in Latin America, everywhere. Okay. All of humanity. Everybody in the universe. That's what it means. Everybody in the universe. Or universal interest. It means that what is interest?
Interest.
This is a verb.
Interest. It may be maybe hobby.
It means that you want to know about it. People care about this. Okay. For example, you like bicycles, right? This is your interest. You are interested about bicycles. You're interested in bicycles. You like math, so you are interested in math. Okay. To be interested, or universal interest in this case. This can be a verb and a noun actually. Okay. What are your interests? Oh, I like bicycles, mathematics, blah blah blah. These are your interests. Okay. So we read one more time from the beginning. The 11th edition of the Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary considers literature to be writings having excellence of form or expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest. The 19th century critic. This 19th century something, okay? Blah, 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 okay? Century. What century are we in?
21.
21st. Yeah, the 21st century. So this guy is from the 19th century. And then we have the word critic. And we read together. The 19th century critic, Walter Pater, referred to the matter of imaginative or artistic literature,
as
transcript not of mere fact, but of fact in its infinitely varied forms. One more time.
the 19th century critic Walter Pater referred to the matter of imaginative or artistic literature as a transcript not of mere fact, but of fact in its infinitely varied forms.
Okay. First we start with the word critic. Critic can be a verb and can be a noun. Okay? As a noun, a critic means someone who gives an opinion. Opinion.
Opinion.
Yeah. For example, you can be an art. You can make a critic about art, and then you have a piece of art, and you say, "Oh, I think this piece of art has this and this qualities. Like it's very good. I like the way the artist designed it, the process, etc." This is art criticism. You can also critique politics.
Okay.
So there's people, and I don't know if you read the newspaper. There's people who talk about Tsai Ing-wen,
Yes.
right? And this is called critic, because they talk about her. They say like, "Oh, I think her government is good," and blah blah blah. Or some people say, "Oh, I think she's doing very bad." Yeah. So that's criticism. And the person who writes is called critic. Okay. To critique somebody. Okay. The 19th century critic, Walter Pater, referred to the matter of imaginative or artistic literature. What is this matter about?
This
Topic.
matter.
Topic. Okay, the same as topic. In this case, it means the same as topic. Imaginative. I think we know this word, right? Imaginative.
It means have a good at imagine.
Yeah, it's just like fiction or yeah, like comes from your mind. You
Something that is produced by
imagination. Yeah, or artistic literature. What is artistic?
It's about the art.
We will talk about kinds of literature later, okay? But in this particular case, what kind of literature we're talking about? We're talking about artistic literature. It means what? What is artistic literature?
Artistic. Maybe it's a kind of literature that's about the artistic.
No. It's literature that is art. For example, novels. So novels. Yeah, this is art, right?
Yes.
Or for example, poems.
Yes.
Poems, okay? Or for example, let me think. These are considered art, right? So that is artistic literature. Okay? Artistic literature. It means writings that are considered as art. Okay?
So it is right about.
They write about many things, but the point is that these writings, these books, they are considered art. They are art. I give you an example. Do you know 三国志?
Yes.
Is it art?
Yes.
Do you think it's art?
A novel.
It's a novel, right? So it's art.
Yes.
So that is artistic literature.
Okay.
It has cultural value. Culture.
So the artistic literature is about the
It's about culture, it's about people. Like novels, poems,
Oh, okay, I know it.
feelings.
Oh, so it artistic is means the things that human made, right?
Yeah, and it means also that it's art.
Okay.
These books, this literature, they are art.
Mm.
Okay? For example, 三国志 is a novel.
Mm.
Okay?
Okay.
Or for example, let me think. Yeah, it's considered art. Or for example, in the Palace Museum, do you know the Palace Museum?
Yes. Oh.
Palace Museum, Gugong,
Oh. I know.
the Palace Museum.
Mm.
Okay. In the Palace Museum, you have big text. There are poems, right?
Mm.
This is literature, but this is art.
Okay.
These poems are considered art.
Mm.
Okay, so also it's artistic literature.
Okay.
These poems are artistic literature. Okay. So novels, poems, all these kind of writings that are art is considered artistic literature. Okay. As a transcript, not of mere fact, but of fact in its infinitely varied forms. This is a very abstract word. Transcript. What is the transcript?
Transcript.
To write in another form.
Right in another.
Form. For example, you can transcript this by hand, right? Here, you can copy. It's transcript. It's called transcript. You can also transcript this into the computer, right?
Mm.
Or you can transcript this to usually another language, which is just more commonly called as translation. To transcribe something is to copy, write again. Okay? And it can be in another form. You can write in the computer, or you can type it in the typing machine. To transcribe, not of mere fact. What is mere fact? This is mere fact.
I don't know.
You know, mere fact means, for example, let me give you a very interesting example. Do you know domestic violence?
Huh?
Domestic violence.
Domestic.
For example, male chauvinism. Do you know male chauvinism?
Yeah.
Okay, let me think of another topic. A more easy one. For example, let me think. For example, education in Taiwan.
Mm.
Education in Taiwan. You can talk many things about education in Taiwan. Some critics
Yeah.
think it's very good and it's one of the best educations you can have, right?
Mm.
Some more critics might tell you, no, students have so much homework and too many tests and blah 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 blah. Two opinions, right?
Mm.
But they can talk about particular facts. You can talk about, for example, too many tests or whatever. Or you can write a novel
Yes.
or a poem and talk about these topics in more artistic manners, in
Yes.
more abstract ways,
Yeah.
and consider many opinions. For example, you know domestic violence.
Domestic.
Qiabao.
Oh.
You can talk facts about it. For example, how many cases? You know cases?
What's this?
How much does this happen?
How much make?
I don't know, right? You can say a number. For example, in 1 year, perhaps 100,000
Mm.
people, right? I don't know. The police knows. I don't know. Suppose 100,000 people.
Yes.
Okay? So it is a fact. This is a fact. Fact is a 事实, right? It's a
Yes.
fact. But you can write a novel and talk about this problem. You can write a novel,
Yes.
right? And talk about this problem in different way, not through facts, but rather to describe it and say why does this happen, how it comes in which what happens when this happens to the kids, for example, and what is this? How does this affect the society? How does this affect family? How does this affect schools, etc.? I don't know. So this is calling not by mere fact, not by mere fact. It's more abstract.
Abstract.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you more examples. This is a very difficult part. The matter of imaginative or artistic literature as a transcript, not of mere fact. It means that this literature don't talk about not only about facts,
Also, it's
but they
about-
discuss it.
Mm.
They discuss it.
Mm.
Yes, give me what you're thinking.
So this mere fact means not the fact, but it's not really the fact.
It talks about a problem, but it talks about it in different perspectives. Different perspectives. Okay? But not only about fact. Probably you don't want to talk about how many cases of domestic violence in Taiwan. Probably you want to talk about the feelings. For example,
So the feelings, so that if they talk about the violence, the domestic violence feelings is the mere fact.
it's not mere fact. If you write about mere fact, you only talk about how many cases, what is happening, blah blah blah. But you're talking about feelings, why does it happen? You try to understand why for example, a husband, right? A husband beats his wife, right?
Mm.
And then you try to think, why does this husband want to beat his wife? Why? And you try to write about it
Oh.
and try to understand the feelings of the person. Or why does this person do not break away from her husband? Why? Why not? What are the feelings there? So it's not only about facts. It's not about 100,000 cases in a year. It's about the feelings, why it happens, how it happens,
Okay.
etc.
Understand.
It's more than just fact. You are thinking about those people. What are they thinking? What do they feel, etc.
Okay.
So it's not mere fact. Okay, not mere fact. So one more time. The 19th century critic Walter Pater referred to the matter of imaginative or artistic literature as a transcript not of mere fact, but of a fact in its infinitely varied forms. What is infinitely?
Mm.
Yeah, it's a lot, endless, right?
Yes.
Varied. What is varied?
Is a lot of kinds.
Forms. Yeah.
Forms.
Yeah. For example, you can write a book that says, domestic violence is very bad, and these guys who beat their wives, very bad people, and blah blah blah. Or probably someone writes a book that tries to understand the mind of this man and say, domestic violence is bad, but perhaps this man has too much pressure, and in our society we think men should be this way and should provide money to the family, and you try to see other ways, right? So you can see this problem from many endless perspectives.
Yes.
Yeah, right? So that's what it's talking about. So it's not transcript of mere fact, but of fact in its immediately varied forms. Now I have a question. Are the newspaper
What?
literature?
Literature.
From this point of view, from this Walter Pater, he thinks literature is not only about mere fact,
Yes.
but to discuss of problems in different perspectives, right?
Mm.
So now I have a question. Are newspapers literature? Can we think of newspapers as literature?
I think we can.
Do you think from this opinion, can we talk of newspaper about as literature? Remember that newspapers, they talk about facts.
Yes.
Newspapers, they tell you, oh, somebody killed his wife, and this happened at 7 a.m. in the morning, and because of this reason. These are the facts.
Mm.
But this guy says that literature, artistic literature, should not talk only about facts.
Okay. So the newspaper only talks about fact, but the literature can not only talk about fact, but also some imaginative things.
Yeah, or your opinion, your own opinion. In a newspaper, a journalist cannot say, "Oh, I agree with the guy. I agree with the guy who killed his wife." You can, as a journalist, you cannot say that. As a journalist, you only talk about facts. What happened, and this is the news, right?
Mm. Okay.
They just talk about fact. But a writer in artistic literature, he can give his own opinion. He can say, oh, I read this case in the newspaper, and I think this and that, and perhaps because of this or that, I don't know. So, in newspapers, you have news. News are about facts.
Mm. Yes.
In literature, you can imagine things. You can say, oh, yeah, this guy killed her wife, and he can think, probably the news don't know why. Why did he kill his wife?
Mm. Okay.
We don't know, but you can imagine. You can imagine. He can say, oh, probably he was drunk. Probably he was drunk. Or because he was drunk and too much pressure, he doesn't know. It is not in the news, but he can imagine these things and write them down.
Mm.
You know? So that's what imaginative is about. You're taking a fact and then you put in things you think by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? So are newspapers literature, yes or no?
News? No. It's
Yeah.
not.
From this opinion,
Mm.
no. Newspapers are not artistic literature.
Mm.
Newspapers are to inform facts. They are not to entertain,
Entertain.
to make fun of, to have fun. Look, usually when you read a novel, it's to enjoy the novel,
Mm.
but you don't enjoy the newspaper.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean, yeah. Okay, so let's read one more time. The 11th edition of the Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary considers literature to be writing having excellent of form or expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest. To the 19th century critic, Walter Pater referred to the matter of imaginative or artistic literature as a transcript not of mere fact, but of fact in its infinitely varied forms. But such definitions assume that the reader already knows what literature is.
Mm.
Any question here?
Any such definition as the what is definitions?
Definitions. When you open the dictionary,
Mm.
you have the word, right? You have
Yes.
permanent, 2 points, blah blah blah. This is the definition.
So definition means the
Okay. You have a word. This is the dictionary, right? You
Yes.
open the dictionary and you have a word, and you have 2 points, and then you have the explanation.
Yes.
You have they tell you, oh, permanent means that never changes.
Okay.
This thing here is the definition.
Yes.
So, for example, the matter, this part, transcript not of mere fact, but of fact in its merely varied forms. This is a definition.
Mm. Okay.
This writer, Walter Pater, he's defining what is artistic literature. So if it were in the dictionary, you will find it as artistic literature. And I will say 2 points. I will say transcript not of mere fact, but of fact in its merely varied forms. Okay?
Okay.
That is the definition.
And
For example, what is the definition of universal?
universal. Universal, it means the whole world.
The whole world, yes. Yes, it is a whole world is the definition. Okay? Very good. So, but such definitions. What is this such about?
Such. Maybe means list.
This kind, yeah. In this case, very good, very good. But such definitions, that kind of definitions, okay? But that kind of definitions assume. What is to assume something?
Assume
I assume.
it means guess.
You guess. Yeah, kind of guess. For example, I think you took a shower yesterday. I assume you took a shower yesterday.
Also, it stem to a guess, right?
The guess is less. An assumption is usually
Assume is more.
assume something. To assume you are at least 70% sure.
70% guess, maybe the 50 or so.
Yeah, you're just guessing. But an assumption it means you believe it's true. You think it's true. Okay. And assume that the reader already knows what literature is. And indeed, its central meaning, at least, is clear enough. Any question? What is indeed?
Indeed. In Chinese we say 确实.
Yes, indeed. And indeed, its central meaning. What is the central meaning?
Central meaning.
The central meaning of what?
The major meanings.
For example, what is domestic violence?
Domestic violence is about a problem about family. The husband and wife they fight.
Problem about family, fight. Okay, physical, right? What else? It's a problem. Okay. Is this a society? It's a problem of society. You know what is society?
So how to spell?
So what?
Oh, society. Okay.
So is this a problem of society?
Yes, it's.
Yes, perhaps, right? So the main point here, the central meaning of domestic violence is this fight.
Domestic violence.
This is the central meaning.
Okay.
But there are other possible meanings. Okay. So the very essence of the meaning. And indeed its central meaning at least is clear enough. It means that this word means that most people know what artistic literature is about. I mean, I don't need to tell you that, for example, 三国志 is a piece of art. I don't need to tell you, you know.
Yes, I know.
Most people can recognize it. Most people can know this. So that's what this means. And indeed, its central meaning, it means that literature